this is a little bit for Professor Walzer, really for Ms. Garlick. I want to start with Professor Walzer's invocation to take theoretical imperialism seriously. And while I don't agree with his rubbishing of Foucault, I do think that it's a good thing to do. And I'd like to do this in the context of Martin Peretz. And I'm going to read a Martin Peretz quote, and I want us to think, what theory comes through here? So many in the black population are afflicted by cultural deficiencies. I would guess that in the ghetto, a lot of mothers don't appreciate the importance of schooling. So what kind of theory comes through here? Now, do we have an account of biopolitics, perhaps? Differential access to resources and opportunities that perhaps make education less than desirable for certain populations? Nope. It's just either stupid or racist, or both. So now I turn my question to you, Ms. Garlick. A person who has that kind of model for the world, what kind of teaching can they really be doing? If they have that much hatred for an entire aspect of humanity, what exactly would they be teaching you? So I would finish my little diatribe by asking you to defend such a disgusting person and to also say that people like you allow him to have the power that he does.
A fantastic teacher. He was generous with his time. He encouraged debate. He encouraged us in our studies, and we honored him for that by creating a fund to help undergraduates continue their work. Most of us who've known Marty for a long time have disagreed with him on as to many of his opinions. Marty himself was not endorsement of any particular view. I will tell you that, as Richard Tuck said at the outset, when we heard of this convocation, we thought this would be a nice way to honor a teacher who's meant a lot to many of us. And we sent out notes to people who had Marty as a tutor, and they responded with contributions and a desire to fund the fellowship. If it, and it's pretty much as simple as that. Marty has been a loyal and good friend to many people. He has views that he has explicated and then changed, some of which I agree with, some of which I don't. And that's really what I have to say. As EJ, who has been a partner with me in this effort, has said, you can hold, if anybody can hold two contradictory thoughts in their head at the same time, it should be people in this group. And you can honor someone as a teacher without agreeing with everything he's ever said.
And I just wanted to make a general comment on the theme of this panel, which is social studies and social change. And start by saying, first of all, how excited I was to be at this event today. I actually didn't go to my 10-year college reunion, but when I got the email about this, I signed up on this. And the reason is, quite frankly, because my time and part of a movement for racial justice is because of this program. So that's, the love part that I'm going to put out there before I provide the alienation part. Which is that coming here today, I have to say I felt somewhat disappointed and even a little bit naive in thinking about the connection between social studies and social change. I've really enjoyed the panelists, but I don't feel that the selection of panels throughout the day necessarily reflects the diversity of the communities that social studies cares about, writes about, or thinks about. I don't think that the curriculum of Social Studies 10, though I saw that Franz Fanon sort of creeped his way in there, is still very Western-centric. And I think most importantly, the decision to honor Martin Peretz, who said things like what the previous commentator said, but also said things like Arab Americans are hidebound and backwards, is really not what my memory of the Social Studies department is about. And so I suppose it's my recommendation for the next 50 years for the program would be, if you're thinking there's a true commitment to social studies and social change, it's to actually turn our very well-developed critical gaze on ourselves and realize that what happens even in rooms like this, who we invite to speak, who we read, and certainly who we choose to honor, very much impacts that project of social change that's happening out in the world today. And so that's, I guess, my embedded critique, and that I encourage social studies to rethink what's happened here today in terms of who's been honored and who's being talked about.
but this was an effort to honor a great teacher. I disagreed with Marty on all kinds of things over the years. I argued with him in a friendly way. I mean, friends can argue, friends can passionately disagree about some of the recent comments. I understand the passion that's been aroused by this, but I think there's been a fascinating division here. It could be the object of some interesting social science, which is people who knew Marty a long time ago and have worked with him and have argued with him and have had agreements and disagreements with him, understood why people would honor him for the teaching. People who never met Marty, who have seen some of the stuff he's written, which, as I say, I've disagreed with Marty, only know him through that. They don't know he stood up for the Roma. They don't know he stood up for gays very early when others weren't. They don't know that he stood up for the Kurds. I mean, he's a very complicated human being, like most of us are. And I think that, I think that's the split here. But we are honoring Marty because we really loved him as a teacher. And his passion has, in terms of more speakers, that we should have had 2 days because we've got more voices in, and I enjoyed this so much, and I would have taken a second if I could. But thank you, because I think that's fair comment.
Can I just response to the previous questioner? I wonder if you have undertaken a survey of everything that every present member of the social studies faculty has said in postings, in footnotes, in lectures, to make sure that nothing they have said is offensive or hurtful or embarrassing.
Oh, come on.
Because if you're not doing that, well, I think you better start doing it, because you're going to find a lot of things you don't like.
Pathetic.
Over here now?
Over there? Sure, go ahead.
All
right, hello, my name is Abdul Nasser Rashid. I'm a junior in social studies. And one thing I would just like to point out. Is this better? Yeah. So one thing I'd like to point out is that social studies actually did make the decision to honor Marty Peretz. They did meet last Friday and over the weekend, and they did finally come to the decision to go ahead with the honor. So it wasn't just former students doing this. The standing committee made the decision itself. One thing that we may have noticed is that Marty Peretz has a pseudo-apology for the latest bigoted thing that he said. He said that he took back his comment about Muslims not deserving First Amendment protection. Since we have 3 of his friends on the panel, can I get a commitment from you guys to ask him to apologize for 25 years of bigotry and hatred? Thank you.
Can I just say something? I was very keen that Abdul Nasser speak, because he's someone whom I have had very good dealings with and whose views, substantive views on this matter, I respect. But I don't think that it's appropriate at the moment for us to pursue these issues any further. If there's any other question about the substance of the panel, I think it would be reasonable to have that. Otherwise, I'm afraid we should accept that this has been a very difficult issue, which understandably has run through all our meetings, and just reflect on its implications. But are there any other questions anyone would like to put specifically to the point that's being raised right now?
What points?